Hey everybody, video here for you today, and it's been kind of hard to figure out what my next videos are going to be on. There's some more stuff in Egypt I want to talk about, of course my Ancient America series, but a place I haven't talked about for a while and I thought I would do a video on today for a few reasons. One, I've had a lot of requests from people in Scotland, and two, I can share a couple other channels and just give you a good look at an ancient site I have never talked about. But we are going down to the Fort William area, and this is called Dun Deardail, the Dun Deardail Fort. Now, I'm not going to show a lot on Google Earth here, but this is the general area at the end of the loch here. This is Fort William right here. This is where it is located, on top of this big rise here. And this is what it looks like from overhead. It says here, the Archaeology of Dun Deardail, an Iron Age hill fort in Glen Nevis. A new publication from Forestry Commission Scotland explores the recent excavation of a vitrified Iron Age hill fort in Glen Nevis. It says the vitrified hill fort of Dun Deardail sits high above Glen Nevis, overshadowed by Ben Nevis, looming opposite. It was built in the middle of the first millennium BC, around 2,500 years ago, and was eventually destroyed in a catastrophic fire. Recent archaeological excavation has investigated both the terraced interior and its imposing ramparts. And let me just go to a video now, and this comes from a channel that I have talked about before. The first video I want to share comes from Recording Archaeology, and they have a lot of good lectures here on research and archaeological work done in the UK mainly, and in other places. So you in the UK, I'm sure this is a channel that would interest you because many sites in your area are covered here. But let's just play that video on Dun Deardail from Recording Archaeology, and it's about 2 minutes long.
The Dun Deardail Archaeology project took place in the beautiful Highlands of Scotland, near Fort William. It was funded by the Forestry Commission Scotland and the Heritage Lottery Fund as part of the Nevis Landscape Partnership. It was the all-important heritage element of the Landscape Partnership, enabling several £1 million worth of path repair on Ben Nevis. The Archaeology Dun Deardail is a popular account of the excavation. The booklet aims to engage the wider public with stunning illustrations and images. It sets the site in its wider archaeological and historical context and explores both the results of the excavation and the professional and volunteer archaeologists who took part. The book also covers some of the creative aspects of the project. Listen to some of the music created throughout this project. More than an account of the excavation and its results, the publication contains resources for teachers and readers to continue their learning. It is available online or via the Nevis Landscape Partnership.
Now here is skyscapesurvey.com, and I will leave the link below, but they did a little work at Dun Deardail, and they have some pics here. Let's just look at these real quick. This is kind of the LiDAR imagery. And here's a look at the landscape, but I will leave the link for this below. And they also have a video attached here. Let's just play this here.
Aerial survey allowed millions of 3D points to be captured and then used to create a terrain model for the site. This was then processed into a full 10 centimetre interval contour plan. This can be then turned into a three-dimensional view of the site and, together with the videos, allows us to interpret it as never before.
And that video comes from David Connolly here, and he has 137 subs, and he does some research work here in the UK, and I just started checking out his channel, but he has some interesting videos here, and ones I'm going to look at a further date here, but I will leave the link to David's channel. Now let's just do a little reading. This is Ancient Code. It says, "The mystery of the vitrified fortresses of Europe, an unexplained geological anomaly." Europe, the old continent, is known for its amazing history, medieval times, and stunning fortresses and monarchies. Between 700 and 300 BC, a large number of forts were built in Scotland, many of them on top of hills, with walls made of stones piled together without the use of mortar. This at first may not seem like anything out of the ordinary, as of course there are plenty of such structures across the world, and not just in Europe. However, the entire story changes completely, going from ordinary to extraordinary upon the close examination, which reveals that many of the stones that make up the walls of these ancient fortresses are fused together. Some of the areas of the forts were converted into a kind of glass, featuring the remains of what was, without a doubt, air bubbles and drops of molten rock, which are evident that the stones were once subjected to temperatures that led to the vitrification process. It says, not a single scholar has been able to explain how this is possible. Therefore, during the last 3 centuries, archaeologists have tried to answer the questions surrounding the mysterious Scottish fortresses. One of the first British geologists to describe the mysterious structures and the mystery behind them was John Williams, author of The Natural History of the Mineral Kingdom. It was he who first described the mystery in 1777 after looking into a few strange ruins, of which later more than 100 examples have been found throughout Europe, mainly in Scotland. So who built them? How did they manage to vitrify the stone? And what sort of technology was used? And is it possible that we do not see the entire picture? Too many questions and no answers at all. Now here is another website, and I will leave this below, but I guess the most accepted theory is there was timbers supporting these structures on top. And here is what they thought it looked like originally. But it says, archaeologists have made a breakthrough in solving the ancient mystery surrounding an Iron Age fort in the Highlands that was burnt at such high temperatures that parts of it melted. Over the years, a number of experiments have been carried out at Dun Deardail in Glen Nevis to establish how temperatures hot enough to fuse stones together could have been produced. It says, writer and broadcaster Arthur C. Clarke said the country's vitrified forts were the biggest mystery he had encountered, and suggested that the Stone Age people would need to be equipped with lasers to achieve the results. So now we have a big dispute. Could a massive fire, and people said maybe when these places were conquered or left, they were burned. So could a fire just made with timbers, a lot of timbers, melt rock into a vitrified form? Now, that is a question I'll leave up to some people who are more experts. I don't know. I think that is a great question, and that's why it's such a mystery. Now, why were these vitrified? And of course, I'm sure some of you are going to bring up some external reason. And was there an event around 524 AD that did some damage? Well, that's all up for speculation. Now, could a fire from timbers being burned up here melt certain sections of the wall? And that's the way the vitrification was formed up here. Certain areas of the walls were vitrified and certain areas weren't. And I have talked about vitrification at one other site. The ancient alien theorists at Mohenjo-Daro say a nuclear blast caused vitrification there, obviously, in the past. Well, it turns out there was just some huge ancient oven or pottery kiln that they were using, and that gave the chemical signature of vitrification. So is there different levels of vitrification? Well, this is something I have not looked into deeply. But that is an ancient site in Scotland I wanted to document on my channel. I have maybe 10 sites in Scotland that I have talked about. The Ring of Brogdar, Orkneys. I have one video called Mayahul, Ava, and the Akabonich Beaker Burial Project. And I will leave the link. That is a good video coming from Scotland. The Clava Cairns. There are some other sites I have talked about. One site I will be mentioning in a future video, Roslin Chapel. And I'm sure that will be interesting to a lot of you people. But sites in Scotland and other places in Europe where there's vitrification, I think that's an open mystery. Hope you thought that was cool. I'll be looking forward to reading your comments. And you all have a very nice day.